My name is Ginny, also known as 2/3 Lotus, everywhere on the internet. This clip is part of my series, The Poets of Twitch, where I analyze my viewers' writing live on stream. Nothing has been edited out, so you're seeing this exactly as streamed with all of the imperfections and tangents that come with being live. If you want to catch me live or want more information, check out the description. Otherwise, enjoy some excellent writing. Yeah, I think we have time to do this one, hour and a half, so we don't get too distracted. It is a tall ask, but here we are. We attempt in our meandering through life to at least stay on a semblance of a path, but it wouldn't be a meandering of a life if we didn't take the side roads and turn right at the crossroads when we were supposed to go left because we misheard the direction from the man on the street. You know? This is life. But we will try to read this poem and stay on topic, so we have a little less time, as the world hurries us, and we hurry ourselves, more than anything. But I try to stick to not streaming more than 4 hours. Hungry Thing. By Highcallibrr. This is what this says. Hungry Thing. Would that I grow the tiger's fur over my skin that believes itself to be fully alive, that believes so fervently the flesh adopt a second mind that leads toward eighth insanity, that no longer does the chest seek in tiger's tail the meaning of a poet's lines, but in its jaw, its own jaw, forget its head is its own head, and sink its teeth into the bed, trying to consume itself, to know it has not lost humanity. I would then call myself the hungry thing that does not know itself and thus calls itself it. I throw myself into this new identity. The tiger, inside out, to taste its humanness. As we all know, flesh is flesh, even under fur. Hungry Thing by Highcallibrr. There's some cool motion in the middle. I've made my life's motto, life is too short to hurry. I've said this to people a few times. This is something I've held as a belief for about a year and change. And I've told this to people, and it's like giving them pause, and they think, and then like it blows their mind sometimes. They're like, whoa, that's crazy. Like, yes, like this is one of my favorite phrases. Life is too short to hurry. The poem. Let's read it again. Hungry Thing by Highcallibrr. Before we do that, I do need to update the thing. The chat, the pinned message that says what we're reading. I find this to be of deep importance as information, so we can, because also like you go in, you see trigger war, gore, racism, you leave, and then like, well, so what is this called? We are currently reading Hungry Thing by Highcallibrr, and this does not have any triggers. Boom. Unpin after manual. Okay. Awesome. Okay. My apologies. We'll read it again now. Hungry Thing by Highcallibrr. Would that I grow the tiger's fur over my skin, skin that believes itself to be fully alive, that believes so fervently, the flesh adopt a second mind that leads towards eighth insanity, that no longer does the chest seek, in tiger's tale, the meaning of a poet's lines, but in its jaw, its own jaw, forget its head is its own head, and sink its teeth into the bed, trying to consume itself to know it has not lost humanity. I would then call myself the hungry, hungry thing that does not know itself and thus calls itself it. I throw myself into this new identity, the tiger, inside out, to taste its humanness. As we all know, flesh is flesh, even under fur. I like that this is almost one sentence, but it doesn't quite get there. If we want this to be a one-sentence poem, I think we necessarily have to add like a clause here, like and. But having the break there is fine. I just think one-sentence poems are cool. So there's a lot to parse in terms of meaning. And symbols aren't quite the way to go here, I don't think. We talk about the tiger, but otherwise there's not that much that's really calling to me to say, like, this is a symbol that wants to enlighten us as to the meaning of the poem. I think a lot of this is just going to refer to, or be found through parsing the poem and finding things. So, would that I grow the tiger's fur over my skin. So, to start breaking this down, let's do something. Yeah. I'm going to break this up. Start with the first two lines. The first line, so would here, implies to me that this is all kind of a hypothetical. Which is like, I would say hypothetical, or that it's uncertain. I enjoy poems that do this. I enjoy every poem I read, but I think framing something as a would that, as a hypothetical, is a very interesting way that we can maybe explore ideas. And this is a very, like, maybe outlandish one. Growing tiger's fur over my skin, there's probably more meaning. But would that I grow the tiger's fur over my skin. Right. So skin, if we're talking symbols, this is just going to have some amount of like selfhood and safety and identity. So the tiger's fur growing over it is some amount of replacement of this self. Replacement of identity. And we can talk about a tiger maybe as a symbol. So do we have in chat any like associations? We're playing the chat word association game. Do we have any associations just with like tigers? I can think of many myself, but I'll give a moment. /ban at any associations with tiger as a symbol in media, in culture, societally, anything like this. Any ideas from chat? Highcallibrr, you're included here. We're just basically playing word association. Strong, reliable, and mafia. Strong. Reliable. Oh, like having a pet tiger? like just exorbitant wealth, maybe. Unless you're referencing a very obscure movie called Who Killed Captain Alex, in which case Tiger Mafia is sleek camouflage predator. It's the eye of the tiger. It's the cream of the fight. It's the eye of the fight. Eye of the tiger. I don't think cream is the lyric. Okay. Sleek camouflage. Sleek camo. Predator. Predator. Eye of tiger, comma, eye of. It, like the cream of the crop. I don't know. I'll Google it. I always thought it was like thrill of the fight. It's the eye of the tiger. It's the thrill of the fight. But maybe I'm just inserting that. Thrill of the fight? Okay. Well, there we go. Dangerous, seeking, insane. Interesting. Yeah, we can do dangerous, insane, seeking. This is perhaps like hunting. That comes to mind to me. Exotic is one that, you know, even Joe Exotic or whatever. Tiger King. Tiger King. This is an association with tigers. Anything else? And to say that cream of the fight could have been interesting. It could have been. I just don't think it quite fits. Also, welcome HQ. So these are tiger things. Do we have anything else? It's probably enough. So these are maybe some of the things that we are thinking about replacing the self with in this poem, right? And we continue. Skin that believes itself to be fully alive. So the interesting thing is, you know, it makes sense maybe fur that believes itself to be fully alive is what I would think to write here or think to interpret here, like a believing of this transformation. But it's skin that believes itself to be fully alive, which is a completely different meaning, as if we're saying that we believe that our skin is alive. And that is interesting. Perhaps there's some argument of the human condition and just being like a sack of skin. A sack of skin is all we are, and we believe ourselves to be something living and incredible and whatever. So maybe some indication of like ego here, but also not sure about that one. Or maybe just that the skin remains alive underneath the sort of tiger, right? When someone misunderstands someone's idea and thinks it's another idea, neither of them thought of where does that idea come from. I truly ponder the cream of the corn. Someone misunderstands someone's idea and thinks it's another idea. Neither of them thought of where. Yeah, I think the idea of like the origination of ideas is fascinating. That's something I could probably yap about if I wasn't making an effort to not get derailed here. So this is some amount of like just like transformation. So far, if Highcallibrr is asking what this gives, Loki giving furry, but this might change. That believes so fervently, the flesh adopt a second mind that leads toward eighth insanity. This is like very cool. I like the use of numbers. I think numbers feel very deranged and insane in a poem. Truly I ponder the cream of the corn is funny to hear that. That's like a great line. Truly I ponder the cream of the corn. Um, so, so we have eighth insanity and a second mind, which 8 as a just number and symbol numerologically is used in like a few places off the top of my head. Uh, First of all, it's 7 plus 1, which matters because 7 is used a lot. We talk about 7 sins, which could be 7 insanities. But we also talk about like the eightfold path as a thing in Buddhism. If we're talking about numbers in culture. Trying to think of other ways 8 is used. But I don't think we're going to get anything out of trying to find some deeper meaning of 8. This is something, I mean, like, maybe this is just me projecting something I do in writing, but sometimes I will just throw a number onto a page because it gives a fascinating, like, descriptive feel, right? A mind that leads toward insanity is, like, whatever, but a second mind that leads toward an 8th insanity is just, like, it opens this up to so much interpretation. And we can just talk about being, thoroughly insane. Right. This describes, if we have 8 insanities, we're probably pretty insane, right? So, thank you. I'll be here for the rest of the non-committal unit of time. Or here, even. There you go. So, this could just be referring to, like, a thorough insanity. Something that could be happening, just hypothetically, there could be 8 insanities in here. That would be a cool way to write the poem. I don't feel like I saw that, but maybe we'll discover it. This could be fun to impose on the poem. What are the 8 insanities? That believes so fervently, so believes itself to be fully alive, believes so fervently, the flesh adopt a second mind that leads toward 8th insanity. 2 to the power of 3. True that. Dude, this is like the this is like when you have like red string on a corkboard and you say like, oh my gosh, if you look at the word Bible has 5 letters, and if you take 5 plus 2, 2 being the sections of the Bible, the New and Old Testament, you get to 7. That's like 7 sins. And if you connect 7, if you take 7 and multiply it by the number of pages in the English Standard Version of the Bible, you get this number. And if you divide it by the number of books in the Bible, 85, you end up with the number 90. And 90 is the current age of Joe Biden, President of the United States. Like, these kinds of things. This is what throwing random numbers into poems makes my mind do. I love like these trains of thoughts. They're so funny. Or being like, the pyramids of Giza are at the latitude on Earth or the coordinates on Earth that correspond with the speed of light in meters per second. I was like, thus aliens. These kinds of things, right? Growing up, I felt just slowly went insane until insane became sane, and then I went insane again. Yeah, sometimes you need to make a new mind, so that one can be insane too, right? If you just reinvent yourself so that you can go insane again. Did you know the longitudinal line of the pyramid exactly hit North and South? That's so good, stylish fail. That kind of stuff. But that's what happens when we start going into it's 2 to the power of 3, and and 2 and 3 are are the beginning of the Fibonacci sequence. 8 is also a Fibonacci number. And this poem has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. If it was 13, it would have worked. 14 lines, which is 1 plus 13, another Fibonacci, 1 being the first number in the Fibonacci sequence that was not mentioned in this poem via 2 to the power of 3. I'm gonna stop. It is fun though. It's funny how I do like that voice. Just so, but perhaps just layers of insanity, and of course maybe the flesh and the reinvention of oneself, right? 14 minus the point the author is making. That's very funny. I need to breathe. Girl, I was helping Stylish. The fuck are we talking about now? We're talking about the way that this poem interlocks with lattices of the Fibonacci sequence to come to a divine understanding of reality and layers of self and the tiger. No. On my 8th birthday, I was exposed to words that could have potentially been smashed with a mallet, and the shattered pieces reformed to create this poem. Oh my god. We're just having fun and messing around is what's happening, Drowning Devil. Okay, let's get back to the poem. Layers of insanity, perhaps. Perhaps in spite of transformation and change, we remain insane. That no longer does the chest seek in the tiger's tail the meaning of a poet's lines. This is cool, right? This feels like I'm being called out as someone seeking the meaning. Like, this is beautiful in that it feels like a direct attack on your reader, which is exactly like the meta that I like, is is that this is me, right? Seeking meaning in the poet's lines. I hate you all sometimes. Yeah, we're not very good at being very serious about poetry, which is probably how it should be. I think if we were... You meant that? Yes! Yeah. But I think, so if we're talking about the chest, seeking meaning, this becomes almost like the overly analytic, as I analyze it, right? Where the chest, the heart, the feeling turns to seek, right, in the tiger's tail, which is maybe like an insane, right, chasing the tail, going around in circles, meaning, where this becomes like the insanity of chasing our tail around, searching for like some kind of self-referential meaning, because we're probably also sort of referencing ourselves here throughout the poem with the layers, the tiger. So this is like the chase of meaning, which I think will get us to this idea of like the tiger hunting and later like the idea of hunger, right? These are being evoked, like this insatiable desire for like knowledge in this line, which is insane. There's insanity in seeking meaning, making it dangerous. You know, I talk about how what I do has like a requisite level of insanity. I say it many times, and and I don't think that's wrong. I'm fundamentally like grasping in the dark when I do this. So, we did the chest seek. So, this is like a sort of the insanity of the hunt. But in its jaw, right? So now the chest is seeking in the tiger's tail, the meaning of the poet's lines, but in its jaw, its own jaw. Can't like. But we've changed through the tiger. So we have to go back. We have to sort of look at the intersection of these two lines, which is sometimes the pitfall of splitting this up is the jaw relates to this section. But that no longer does the chest seek in the tiger's tail the meaning of a poet's lines, but in its jaw. So we've broken this cycle, right? And we now theoretically seek in the jaw, which is hungry, I guess. Its own jaw. Forget its head is its own head, and sink its teeth into the bed, trying to consume. And also in assuming the patterns our stupid brains invent can lead us to said meaning. Yeah, I'm also strongly of the opinion that I don't believe in over-analysis, but it does drive one insane. The chest reminds me of an ultra-religious city I grew up in, which somehow we got chicken breast to be renamed the translation of chicken tops in the local grocery store. Imagine being so holy you sexualize chickens. That's amazing. That is so bizarre. Its own jaw. We can't have the children looking at breasts. Dude. Its own jaw. So we now find meaning, right? We find emotion not in the circle, but instead in like this linear nature of like consuming, right? I think these are very different things. So the jaw has an idea of eating, slaying, and devouring, but consuming, right, is what we do. It wants to eat, it wants to eat, it wants to eat, and it moves forward. Like, I think eating is maybe a linear thing. The interesting thing is that we eat every day, unless it's sort of cyclical. But, and sink its teeth into the bed, also, which might just rhyme with head. Forget its head is its own head, and sink its teeth into the bed. So, bed, if we're talking about like rooms as a symbol, is often associated with like self and comfort and where we are and place, right? But then it is forgotten that its head is its own head. So we've like lost the self, and now it's like self-inflicted eating. It's eating a self. It's doing auto-vor or something. The tiger is voring itself, and itself to know it has not lost humanity, which is wholly ironic, maybe, right? Well, oh, this poem's sick. Okay, so itself has lost humanity. I would then call myself the hungry, hungry thing. And I'm going to grab the next lines as well. The hungry, hungry thing. Because all of this like is very connected at the end, so I think I have to kind of frame it like this. Dog woofing. Harper. Harper, come. You're so stubborn today. You can leave. I mean, there was that story about butterball turkeys. Some workers at the farms were apparently filming having sexual intercourse with the turkeys. But it's from PETA, so take it with a pound of salt. Yeah, a gigantic pillar of salt is what I like to say when we need a lot of salt. Imagine the STDs. Yeah, that's not enough salt. Exactly. A gigantic pillar of salt is... Or just a pillar of salt, because then it makes you sound like literate in the Western canon by referencing the Bible or something, but in a clever way. I stole that line. It's a lyric. Itself to know, so it bites itself is what we had before. The vor. Trying to match your deranged here, Callie, by like talking about vor and stuff. I love writing like this. I'm wondering if you can sculpt with salt now. Probably. It's probably. Now we have two probablys, so that's basically a yes, because you add them together. Right, one probably plus another probably plus like Stylish Fail said, the point that the author is making in the poem leads to the divine truth of affirmation, and thus, yes. Hold on. Probably plus probably equals yes. I like this. I like this thought. I like this thought. The wisdom of the masses. The divine, yes. Yes, the divine. The divine. Well, actually, it's like plus the author's message, as we said, which has nothing to do with the situation, but no, that's not true. Hear me out. Okay. But eats itself, vores itself, to know it has not lost humanity. I would then call myself the hungry, hungry thing. And this is definitely connected to the it later, that does not know itself and thus calls itself it. Okay, so maybe it's like, that's really a part of this section, because I just arbitrarily sectioned this. So, because we also have itself, right, calls it, like, I like the, so, it's interesting, we talked about in the last poem, like, using words multiple times in a sentence, but it works really well to repeat the same words when you're trying to sound crazy. This is something I've noticed. Forget its head is its own head, right? Hungry, hungry thing. Like, there's a repetition gives a feeling of, like, craziness. We talked about chanting earlier. Chanting gives weird vibes. I think it's something to do with this. I'm not sure why. Interesting. We even have things like a Beetlejuice, 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 right? Like, we put meaning in repetition, but then when we repeat unnecessarily, it's sort of like insane, right? Because it's like placing the spiritual into a odd place. Probably can never be definite. It's like that whatchamacallit function where if you get closer and closer to a number, but it never actually asymptote. If you in another one of those, you still never touch that number because of infinity or physics or something. Counterpoint HQ. So let's say we have our graph, and I'm going to graph this in a way that is fundamentally beneficial to me, because I can also graph this in a way that is not beneficial to me. So we have the probably graph, right? And it goes like this, and then it gets higher and higher as it goes toward x equals infinity, but it never touches, right? But if we have two of these, another graph, let's just say another one in green, the way that it works mathematically to add graphs together is basically any point, right? You take the value, let's say this is 7, right? Which is, important as part of the meaning of things. You have 7 plus 7 as the two graphs combined, which is 14, which means we are actually beyond the divine truth. So I might have to reevaluate my situation. What this looks like in reality, which I will acknowledge, is that this is the probably graph, and then the truth is 0. And then when you add more graphs and more disparate opinions, you get further away from the truth. But this is absurd. bear in mind I haven't learned about this stuff within the last decade and not in English. So me and my Hispanic background read HQ as AK. Right, yeah, I originally did that as well. Which means oh what in Spanish? Stunning. Amazing. That is very blessed information. Thank you. Like I remember you came into my chat and I was like, HK. All this red and blue is reminding me of a Homestuck character. Well, that's intentional. It's part of the divine message, actually. You know what I'm talking about. You know the path. You know the truth. That's green and orange. I mean, he's technically a god. Do not play me. This is a like green, but it's more like an aqua teal, which you can't even see when I zoom in because it looks white because it's bright. And the other one is a red. But the issue is that my computer has color shift on, so everything is yellow shifted, which makes the red usually look orange. Like this probably looks extremely orange on stream because it's also the camera like reading the warmed screen yellow shiftedness, which is like the fundamental failing of filming the iPad. Like it looks extremely orange right now, right? It's orange, yeah. It like generally looks orange. Usually if I'm right, like, see the orange pen is this one, right? Which is more orange. But that looks pretty yellow. Because this is yellow, right? But it looks white because the screen like brightens everything. This is orange, which just looks yellow. This is red, which looks orange. And then white is just white, I guess. And almost, I can't tell. That's some top tier philosophy right there. Wait, I must have missed some top tier philosophy. All of the bright colors are white. True. So I was basically right. You're all basically right. You're all always right. I'll just affirm you constantly. This is how I get people to stick around. So this, anyway. Itself, so the tiger eats itself. To know it has not lost humanity. The funny thing is, like, the I, the self, refers to then myself as this hungry, hungry thing, the tiger, which calls itself it, which is like a dehumanizing term, right? I mean, unless you use it pronouns, but I think generally we think of like it as something that would be like dehumanizing, right? So I throw myself into this new identity, the tiger, inside out, to taste its humanness. As we all know, flesh is flesh, even under fur. And this speaks to what you were saying, Highcallibrr, which is sort of you explaining your poem to me, but like it makes sense, I think. I understand this insanity, right? To create a new identity, to abandon the old, and then try to find humanness in like the changing of one's humanness, which makes that last line interesting. Maybe a truth that undermines like the entire message of the poem. as we all know, flesh is flesh even under fur. Like, I guess the implication is probably that, like, flesh is flesh, and it doesn't matter if you're trying to change it. So the irony is, while this subject acknowledges flesh is flesh even under fur, they ignore the fact that flesh is flesh because they try to change and chase their tail around and prove that they need to be able to eat the flesh for the flesh to be flesh, and to feel pain is probably one of, like, the proving of humanness thing. But yeah, it's about this cycle of self, and maybe an invalidation of self, and a need to change the self and find more than what is there, right? This is something that I do. I've been a culprit of, right? Because I don't love myself, right? We've talked about this. I don't love myself, and I want there to be more. I want there to be change. I have created identities in my head that I could love, opposite of myself, to try to acknowledge that there were parts of me I could love. These things I have done, right? And in the same way, it's almost like an over-analysis of the poet's lines. The poet's lines, maybe at a deep underlying level, just speak to beauty and aesthetic grace and linguistic joy. And yet we sit there trying to pull and pull and pull and unravel an endless Gordian knot, when really, like, maybe we're missing the point, that we should appreciate the knot, or maybe that the knot is life or something, right? And it's a hunger, it's a constant. We just eat, we take, we want something new. So yeah. Very Omegaverse, the knot is life. Y'all are arguing about the dress. Poyo, you're doing world building. Feast is feast and flesh is flesh, and never the mane shall roar. I don't even know what that means. But it makes sense. That sounds like a reference to, like, literature. Oh, and then we were just talking about colors and stuff. You need a knife. Oh, I split New Avia and Eagle into 3 sections. Is New Avia upper middle class? Yeah, I mean, this is, so you're doing, like, caste stuff and echelons of society. It's fun. That's generally what people do, is we divide ourselves. I think that's reasonable. You need a knife fine enough to split between the atoms of the knot for truly dramatic results. Better yet, split the atoms with the knife, and you'll get very dramatic results. Vision. Yo, tell me why I hate my poems until Lotus elevates them into divine truth, yes, right and proper way. The only way of seeing, perceiving the things I put blank document and then document my insanity. Yeah, it's a reference to the East is East and the West is West, but never the twain shall meet. I see. Dramatic is one way to put that. Yeah. So yeah, this is by Highcallibrr. No, I think this is, so I've done this. I have, like, schizo posted poems too. Some of my no, like, I've also schizo posted is or schizo poemed. I have, like, a handful of things on my Instagram and other socials, not Instagram, but, like, X, that I would describe as schizo poems. And I say this only because I've, like, suffered with what is generally a schizoaffective mental disorder, so I'm allowed to say that. But, like, oh, the real schizo post is on, like, Blue Sky. Follow my socials. But these go back. It's the one with all the arrows and stuff. Dude, I post so much. I was around here. No, these are like way older. I'm gonna find it. Holy Man ballpoint pen. Yeah, okay, this was like schizopo stuff. Holy Man ballpoint pen. Parable speak, garbling your ideas of salvation. Metaphor is perfect because you don't get it, they don't get me, in triple quotes. Circles are perfect, the only holy book, fractional verses. Perfect is deception, I am of ill intent, dragged by hidden hair, rip it out, won't you? Right? And then this was me also. Schizo posting as well. So like I understand it for sure. This really is like being multiple people. Oh, downslide mask bliss dance. Sever now and haha response mindfucked populace. These are children. Question mark. Take me off this. Get me off. Children not mentioned in this poem. How long before break? Psychosis, you say? Moving out of synchronicity, masking over the removed mask because. Right? These are things that I do as well. And then you look back at them and you inject meaning and say, oh, there's so much beauty here. I think this is a very reasonable way to write poetry. I like the idea of letting the words flow. And in your poetry, in this one, in the last one, the one with the scarecrow people, straw men, like I recognize some of your method of writing in how I do that. I have to run an ad and go to the bathroom, but I'll answer that question in a moment, Drowning Devil. I'll be back. Whee! Dude, ad is still going. Stretch. Let me find more magic cards. Not a heavy question, it's just a question of fact. Welcome back. My name is still Ginny, still known as 2/3 Lotus, still known as the schizo poet of Twitch. And the question is, question number 10 on the game show, have you been to a psych ward by chance? Answer is yes. I was in the psych ward only once, but as recently as February of 2024, so 10 months ago, actually 9.5. I was in the psych ward from February 10th to February 16th. It was quite a short stay. I've been like 3 times. It depends on who you ask. But yes, this was for laying in front of, or laying in the train tracks, and then basically admitting myself to the hospital because I was in a manic episode. The train didn't come, thankfully. But yeah, so Highcallibrr, I think the process of writing poems like that is very fascinating. And the funny thing is that like this poem speaks to that dynamic of the chest, the feelings that just come from the heart and the soul and get dumped onto the page, and then the analysis. Of course, the funny thing is I look at it and then you say, right, yo, tell me why I hate my poems until Lotus elevates them into divine truth, right? And I think this is the role of the analyst, fundamentally, is analysis is selfish, and analysis is art in its own right. I take in what is essentially an unfinished canvas by analyzing, and I find a way, not that the poem is unfinished, but that it has not been analyzed by me, and thus the painting is not complete. So I analyze it, right, and fill in the gaps and make the connections and apply it to my life and apply it maybe back to the author. And this is theoretically how the art gets made, the analysis, right? So this is why I find it valuable. This is why we should share our work and try to get people and try to learn ourselves how to analyze, because I know that I provide this feeling for people of validating their poems, and the reality is that like all of you can do that for other people as well. This is the beauty. Like if you were to practice and learn analysis Highcallibrr, you would be able to read people's poems and probably do the same thing. It's just a matter of learning, which is where the YouTube series that I'm making comes into play. But I guess I need to actually do that. But analysis is important. We also interestingly, conversely, like shit on analysis, as we should, because it's dumb and we just like find meaning where there is none, but we find meaning that is beautiful, so it doesn't matter, right? We paint scenes of the world where there is no art. It is the process of art that makes something beautiful. So even if it's not in the poem to begin with, we are still making beauty, we're still making art by analyzing, separate of whether we've missed the point. Dude, that was bars. That was bars right there. I feel like I can probably get that into a YouTube short if I clip it. I always admit myself before I get too bad. Usually I get real bad because I need to change my medications. Happens like every 2 years. Yeah, I only admitted myself once I had dodged to death, right? And I hope to never go back because it wasn't a good healing place for me. But alas, definitely like whacked me out, whacked out murals and stuff. I don't know. Damn, that's gotta be so expensive. It's probably a notable thing, yes. It does suck. I've almost made so many friends at hospitals. I have, like, there was someone who wanted to remain, like, friends with me and sort of continued to reach out on Discord, and I just realized that I couldn't talk to and put myself back in this place, right, where this person did want to stay in touch, and I just felt that I could not be transported back every time I thought about this person to Havenwick Hospital, which sounds so like horror movie locale. Like, as I've met like 5 to 9 people in hospitals, I want to stay in touch. Yeah, it's interesting. Met one decent person in a hospital, didn't talk to them after. Yeah, and this person continued to talk to me. They had got my Discord, and I ended up blocking them, which sucks, but I needed it for me. So, and I'm normally one to maintain communication and not do such things, but that's how it goes, right? This is my analysis. A poem like this for me is sort of impossible to critique. One, because I am very confident that you have no desire to edit this poem, Highcallibrr, because poems like this are momentary. They exist in a state of mind. They come from you and they're done. Like, this I do as well, and I wouldn't be surprised if you thought the same thing. If you think different, do tell me. But I myself would never edit one of my poems that, like, was a schizo poem, right? But, which is weird, right? It's not weird. But I guess, like, roughly my analysis then is just the connections of wanting to change ourselves, wanting to find new things, extrapolate identities, and push ourselves into new echelons of self-love, and that the whole thing is folly because the skin is the art and the chest is the poem and everything else is irrelevant, and it's the skin of a tiger. Delete, yeah, if I try to tell my teachers this and then they tell me to edit, I'm like, but if I edit, yes. Also, it's not that I don't want to, though. I just don't really see my hospital stays as awful, except for the first stay when you were a minor. Mine was like only awful because I was awful, like mentally. Like the hospital was really bad as well, but yeah. So Highcallibrr, and this is fine, right? I think the poem is an expression of a moment, unfiltered, is something joyous that you should keep doing. I do wonder, right, if this is like I wonder this sometimes. Like, I don't know if you've thought about this yourself, but if there's a way to really improve the process of the mental dump, the flow state poem, the schizo poem, all of these things, right? I've not seen Arcane. I have not seen the Victor edit. But boy, I've told you this like 3 times. But I guess I told you I like wanting to watch it. When I get real bad, I mostly go numb. Ironically, being a high stress place really helps me because then I can focus on that and not myself. Well, that's fair. That works. So like I've been thinking, Highcallibrr, if there's a way to like hone the process, not just to improve like the brain slop, because the brain slop will come out and do something beautiful, but to either make the process more efficient or more attainable, or like get into these states of mind where you can like dump nonsense beauty onto a page, right? And this isn't nonsensical because it's reflective of a moment and a train of thought, which is why like it's not nonsense, right? Oh yeah, I thought about it with this one. Each line has 12 syllables. Yeah, and sometimes our brains in these states say, I'm gonna write a poem with 12 syllables in every line. That's what we're gonna do. But I think to even like hone in on like, did you write this poem top to bottom, Highcallibrr? This I wonder. Or was there any meandering? I'm curious. Also, Yeah, I don't know. Poems like this they're fun to write. Well, they're fun to, I don't know. One sec. Let me do something. My water. Sure. Jin, do you have your nails painted right now? Yeah, I just did them last night. I did them red. Um, and, damn. They'll be chipped off soon enough. If you redeem it, you would just be the next one. They're already chipping on the ends and I pick at them too. uh, your call. I'm not gonna like repaint the ones I just did though. I'm talking to this person who's like a cosmetologist and always has sick nails. And she said she would do my nails. I'm so excited. You were filtering water for later. Also for later. Okay. What color, when I do repaint my nails, do you want them to be, Drowning Devil? Oh yeah, I just wrote it top to bottom. Yeah, exactly. That is what I was asking. Like, you know, this process, you just sit there, like almost like a way to prepare the mind for what is to come. To practice somehow writing like this, such that when like the moments of divine poetic inspiration about writing a poem about the tiger's fur coming over your skin with 12 syllables in a line will somehow like improve. And maybe it's just being a regular writer, and writing a lot, and you'll get better at writing and like artistic intuition, such when moments of maybe pure intuition come, everything seems more clear and doable. Maybe that's all it is. Because I do notice like progress in my poems like this. Black and white. I do have money set aside to spend for streams specifically so I can get black and white nail polish. Because I do this thing with my money, like when I get money from Twitch, where some of it goes to savings, some of it goes to spending, and some goes to spending, but just to be spent towards stream. And I think getting more colors of nail polish fits because it's related. But I don't have black, is the thing. But I can get some. Black and white. Just alternating? So I picked the two colors. You don't have law. Yeah, but I need them, right? A poet without black nail polish, I know, right? Should it go like black, white, black, white, black, and then start on this one as white? Or should they be exactly like black, white, black, white, black? Or I could do white, black. Ooh. I don't know. Same on both hands? Okay. I like the idea of one hand white, one hand black. That's pretty cool. You'd even go yin yang and do a black hand with white, a white with black. I think I forgot to turn the filter on when I poured the water, and now I'm drinking tap water. Tap water's fine, unless you live in like the Midwest. Need a new set anyway. Yeah. But like I can't, I don't know how to critique poetry like this because I understand this poetry and it exists in a space that is irrelevant to critique, right? But I guess you asked about how to write verse. I don't know if I've answered what is it giving clearly, but you wanted to know how to write verse because I think a schizo poem in verse could be very cool. But like these colors. So verse. How do we write verse in poetry? Question mark. Number 1. Highcallibrr. Read verse. Now, if you've already done this or already do this, like, good job. But you can either grab a book of just Shakespeare sonnets, or you can grab really anything just written in verse. sonnets are going to be an easy start. I think sonnet is a great entry point to verse. We don't need to talk about other things at the beginning, right? Let's just say writing a sonnet. So you're going to read it a lot, right? You're going to read a lot because if you want to do something that like is done as like a sort of tradition in a very continuous historical canonical way, you should probably have context. I really like sonnets from the Portuguese. Yeah, there you go. And there's slightly different styles depending on the region, but so yeah, like perfect. You have a type of verse that you enjoy. So read that, and then you look up. You can either looking up info is helpful, but mostly just recognize the patterns, right? And this, of course, can be done by either looking up and the internet will tell you that a sonnet is in iambic pentameter and has a certain rhyme scheme depending on the tradition of the sonnet, right? But regardless, like take a sonnet you like and just recognize the pattern happening in it. And this is really going to be about letting the words sit, like sometimes it's almost hard to recognize when you're reading verse. Like you'll read it and then there'll be a few sentences in, and you'll be like, oh wait, there's a rhyme scheme, this seems similar, maybe there's verse, right? But once you like realize that's in it, how to realize something is in verse. I mean, it's about the way the words flow. It's about the rhyme schemes. And you can generally, as you read, start to feel iambs. Like, one way to practice, like sometimes we try to write sonnets and we try to force verse onto words that are not. And until we get comfortable with what we can sort of get away with in a sonnet, because sometimes you're like halfway through a sonnet and you can sort of force a word into a place where it's not like necessarily iambic, but the movement of the sonnet will make it feel iambic, right? But at first you need to talk about like, I need to find words that are just absolutely iambs, which is ba-bum. So, what's a word that goes iamb? Dodom. Looking around me for something. Why am I stuck? Ladder. Redo. Perfect. Redo. Right? Re is a prefix. It's light. It's less emphasized. Do is emphasized. Find words that are just like absolutely feel iambic. Don't try to take words that are like sort of maybe mostly iambic and put them into a sonnet, at least at first. Because you might find yourself like, you're like, this doesn't feel sonnet enough, and that's probably why. I've been a culprit of this in a few sonnets I've written. So really, like, I guess be extremely precise. I don't think you can be, like, lazy while writing a sonnet. You have to, like, really, really try. You have to sit down and say, like, I am going to write something, and I'm going to try to write something that fits the form as precisely as I can, beautifully. Because this is, once you can do that, I think is when it will become easier to start bending the rules, right? It's like, know the rules so you can break them. And since verse is fundamentally a form of rules for your writing if you don't have a really strong grasp of like, which is also why you should read, right? So you can read what a really like traditional, famous, well-written Shakespeare sonnet feels like, right? And then as you do this more, verse will probably come naturally. And maybe this is a hope, because it would probably be really cool, like I said, to see a real like stream of consciousness emotion dump poem like this, not just with like limited syllables, but fully in verse. I think it would really, really do something cool. So I'm only talking about this because you mentioned it many streams ago when I started to work on this, and you said, I don't really know how to write verse. I have not written that much in verse, so I'm admittedly probably not the most helpful resource here. But like, that's my rough thoughts. You have questions on this poem or anything or whatever, or anything? Anyone? Comments? Concerns? Do we hate the poem? Does someone not like this poem? Yes. Welcome, Matthew. Matthew Dilorito. This poem is by Highcallibrr, who just sent a message in chat. And if you do exclamation submit, or maybe someone can do it, like stylish fail if you can put it, this is going to bring up a Google form, and then you can send in your work to me, and then I'll read it on stream, and like, I'll analyze it. So what I do, I usually spend like an hour or between like 1 and 2 hours with a poem, like really giving it my care and attention. Writing down rules, I'm having a hard time even though I just took my meds, but I'll be okay. I mean, like, I think you mean for me to write down the rules. I would say probably, the thing with like a sonnet, for example, is there are many kinds of sonnets. So I would go and just look up sonnet, like, form, and there's things like, there's the traditional Shakespearean sonnet, but then there's also like, there's like an Italian sonnet form, and like sonnets based on different people's work. So generally I would suggest like finding a sonnet you like let's say these Portuguese sonnets, and it might be that they take a different form or structure than your traditional like Shakespearean sonnet, and maybe you research like, what kind of sonnet is this, right? That will help you get to a point where maybe you can what kind of sonnet is this? Find the form that specifically you want to write or emulate, just so you're doing something you enjoy to begin with, right? So I just bought a book because I can't stop spending money. You just bought a book, like just now? Highcallibrr, please be discerning with your spending. And here's a good rule for yourself, since this I did and this I do as well in like hypomanic states, is just always ask the question, can I buy this tomorrow? Right? Do I need this in this moment? And it's hard to force yourself to ask that question. Okay, well now you have a book of sonnets. Perfect. That works. Read those sonnets and try to write sonnets like they do. Imitation is a great way to learn. Sometimes it's the only way to learn. So it's probably going to be like boring, kind of. But at least it's poetry you theoretically like, right? And you'll also probably see different styles amongst these poets. So maybe you can also like try to match style and match their mood. So this is a good way to do it. Any other questions, comments, feedbacks, responses, messages of vitriol toward Highcallibrr and everything they have ever written and sent on this channel? Expressions of deep adoration and praise. Honestly, I'd buy more books, but I literally have nowhere to put them and very little money. It's neat. It is neat. That's so fair, Drowning Devil. Honestly, I've been in and out this whole time. We've been off topic. You've also been here for a long time. Like I can't like expect you to be attentive the whole time. In that case, we'll read it again because I think we're good. Yes, libraries. But I know the library is far away, Drowning Devil. I'm never bored by anything except video games, and I don't know. That makes sense. Yeah. Wait, you're bored by video games? Yeah, video games are kind of boring a lot of the time. Some of them are very good. I've been enjoying Omori, streaming it on Twitch. So we'll read this. Hungry Hungry Thing by Highcallibrr. Would that I grow the tiger's fur over my skin, skin that believes itself to be fully alive, that believes so fervently the flesh adopt a second mind that leads toward eighth insanity, that no longer does the chest seek in tiger's tail the meaning of a poet's lines, but in its jaw, its own jaw, forget its head is its own head and sink its teeth into the bed, trying to consume itself to know it has not lost humanity. I would then call myself the hungry, hungry thing that does not know itself and thus calls itself it. I throw myself into this new identity, the tiger inside out, to taste its humanness. As we all know, flesh is flesh, even under fur. Hungry Hungry Thing by the wonderful Highcallibrr. Thank you for submitting. That's definitely all of the poetry for today, because stream only has like 15 more minutes. So thank you for watching. I encourage you to check out the rest of the series, follow if you enjoyed, and stop by Twitch if you want to share your own work. See you there.